Turbo Conquering Mega Eagle. Alright then folks, this is my lovely Rapidor power hacksaw. I've been working on this for a couple of years on and off, I suppose. I haven't filmed any of it. Just tinkering away with little bits. There's been a few bits broken that I've had to fix. You know, the clutch and it's all just seized up. Lay shaft as well. Like, I just had them sat in oil for ages. And then a few months ago I started painting bits and putting it back together and that. And I was going to paint the whole thing. As you can see, I've painted the bottom nicely. But there's still quite a bit of it unpainted. The reason why I've thrown it back together now is I have some big lumps of steel I have to deal with. I need to process. This is 70mm mild steel, and I've got to stick some lumps of that on the lathe. So I thought, rather than die trying to hacksaw it, I'll just put this back together now. And if I'm that desperate to paint it later, I can maybe do a brush or just pull the top end apart and spray it. Okay, so a couple of bits. One of the bits I wasn't able to fix was the mechanical suds pump, and I really wanted to get that working because it's a really clever little system. There's a cam on the crank wheel, and that actuates a plunger pump and squirts a bit of jizz on the blade every stroke that it takes. But I'm missing a few bits from that, so I don't have the valve from the pump, and the springs missing as well. So I might try and make them at some point, but for now the reason I'm making this video, I'm going to be fitting a pond pump to it, which should be alright as long as it doesn't pick up too much swarf. But I think we can put it in a place where it won't. And because this is it has a 3-phase motor on it, I'm going to stick use the £50 eBay variable frequency drive controller. So you can run a single or 3-phase motor with this, but it also allows you to adjust the speed, which is going to be pretty handy on this. And I've been thinking about putting one of these on my pillar drill for a little while, so it'd be a nice experiment getting on the saw, because I actually need it on the saw. The pillar drill's already single phase, so I can operate that, and it's got 5 speeds, but it would be nice to have a little bit more of a range on that. But either way, that's what we're going to do in this video. Okay, I've just got a control panel mounted for the motor control, and a switch for the suds pump. Yeah, I thought about just screwing the variable frequency drive to the wall behind this thing, but I didn't want to put a switch for the suds pump on the wall behind it, so I figured, it sort of needed a control panel on it, and if I was doing that, I could get it nice and high out the way of the coolant, which is inevitably going to splash on everything below the level of the nozzle. Yeah. Okay. Whoop. Okay. So here's our little motor driver. Right. We've got to hook all the wires up at the bottom here, that's no problem. I want this out of the way, so I don't really want to look at it either, because it's kind of a big lump of plastic stuck on a beautiful old bit of cast iron. So we're going to have this behind the control panel. It comes with a remote control panel itself. you know, and that's on a ribbon cable, but it's not really long enough to do anything with it. So I'm just going to pull this whole thing apart and see if we can't get the ribbon to come out at the bottom on the back of this unit, and then we can make a hole in our control panel, pass the ribbon through, and have that on the front and this box hidden behind the panel. Okay, that's the guts of this controller. All I need to do basically is make sure I keep hold of this ribbon round the back by the heatsink when I put the thing back together. I might just put a bit of tape on it, and then we'll throw it all back together, and then I'll have the ribbon coming out the back when I.
Because they want to have their children. They don't want to work in some office for some rich guy who's never even been to the country, let alone gives a damn about them, and just punching the hours in the desk, filling out spreadsheets and stuff. Yeah, I'm a man.
There we go. Okay, so we're going to stick this little 200 litre per minute, 200 litre per hour. 200 litre per minute was going to be a bit crazy, wouldn't it? Pond pump, although I don't suppose you'd want it in a pond. It's probably for an indoor water feature or something of that ilk. Hopefully this is just going to be temporary. Like I say, I do want to reinstate the look at that. Just a beautiful lump of metal that is. That's the original plunger pump that should be in this sump, and that bolts through there, and the plunger is there's an op rod that's missing, that's actuated by the crank of the saw, but what yeah, like I say, I just want to get this running right now, so I'm not going to worry about that too much. I can fix it at a later date. This will do. I've used a pond pump on my lathe actually, and it's been absolutely fine for quite a few years now. What am I doing here? Just going to put a couple of nuts to space it off, and a couple of penny washers. These fall below the sort of level of the coolant, so we're going to stick a load of PU sealant on it. Has it gone off? No, that'll be alright. And hopefully it doesn't all come out. There we go. Stick that on there. This is where we at. Bloop. There we go. And then whack a bit more on the washers on the front. Same on this one. Should have some gloves on. This polyurethane is an absolute bastard to get off. Absolute bastard. Not the worst thing to get on yourself, but definitely definitely if you're going out for dinner, you don't want to be using this before you go out for dinner, because you'll not get it off the same day. Or you could just use gloves. Yeah, that's probably. I'm going to get a ratchet because this is going to be tedious with spanners. Okay, it's all wired up. I've got the suds tank in the bottom, the sump is missing some fasteners, and they're funny threads, and I haven't got anything similar. I do have some Whitworth gear floating around, but not big stuff for that, for the bolts and those in that sump. So it's just sat on a bit of plywood at the minute, but that should make it easier to drain the thing and fish the swarf out. But it's just looks a bit messy. I've rigged up a bit of copper line to act as a dribbler for the suds, and there's a little brass union that I made so I can pull that pipe off and plug it back on again. If I need to take the tank out, let's have a crack at this power and see what happens. Okay, so we've got a lovely Chinglish instruction manual here. It's not really an instruction manual, it's the programming for this unit. Let's start off the very first box. For selecting mode or programming mode, brackets, it is available, not matter the inverter start or stop. Press this key for modifying parameters. Oh, you know, you can understand it. It just doesn't make complete sense grammatically. But we'll have a little look at this and see if I actually need to bother with half of it. I've got to put in the voltage in that and the frequency, because this, you know, the box doesn't know if I've hooked it up to a 240 single phase motor or in this case 443 phase. I mean this will run a 443 phase, although this lists its RMS, the average, the mean, at 380, which I think is a 440 peak. I don't know. It's like 240 volt, and it's actually got an RMS of something a lot lower than that. Oh, you know, I'm not a mains man. I'm happier with DC stuff, but I'll figure this out and have a play and maybe get back to you when I've got the screen up and running. Okay, I got it running, but it's only running at sort of half speed, and the motor doesn't have any power at all, so I never actually checked whether it was a star or delta wound motor. And to be honest, whilst I've heard those expressions before, and understand the principle behind it a tiny bit, I didn't appreciate its relevance right now. But I'm just trying to see where these wires go on the windings, so I can determine which it is. The inverter that I've got says if you're trying to run you can't run a star wound 400 volt motor on this unit. You've got to convert it to delta. So if this is already delta, then I don't know what's going on, but we'll carry on poking around and now basically, if this is I've got three wires coming out of this motor right now, that I'm connecting my power to, and each of those three wires go to a coil basically, or a winding, and I've got to get to the other end of those coils, and if those coils are all connected to one, then we're star wound, and if those coils are connected to the one next door, and then that's connected to the one next door, and then that's connected to the first one again, then it's already delta wound. I'm hoping it's star wound, then I can just connect them to each other, and then it should work. Right? If it's not, then I don't know. I do have other motors, but I really wanted to get this one working on it because it is the original motor for this machine, and it's got a nice Lawrence Scott and Son data plate on it, which is pretty cool. We'll just I'm going to get the Hoover in there. It's probably a good idea I take this apart anyway, because there's all manner of nastiness in the back of this motor. Like, God knows when the last time it was run. I did did oil the bearings up, but I only had to take the front and back covers off to do that, so I never actually looked inside the motor. But it's a nice chance to clean it out, apart from anything else now, isn't it? Okay, folks, there's no way things are going to work out with the original motor, I'm afraid. I'm not familiar enough with big motor windings to unpick all the insulation on the back of that and figure out what's going on. I'm sure there's people out there that could do it, but it's not me. I don't have the knowledge, I'm afraid. So I'm going to fit a single phase motor, 220 volt single phase motor, back onto this machine. I just want to get it running as soon as possible, and it's getting to the point where I don't really care how permanent this solution is, but it's got to be able to get through a decent amount of metal right now, basically. These are two motors that I had in my shed in the storage container. This bottom one, despite being twice the size of the original, is only a quarter horsepower. Let's start with the original. The original was a half horsepower 1425 RPM motor. Yeah, this is a 1425 motor. It already has a pulley that's the right sort of size. It will take that belt nicely, but it's only quarter horsepower. Look at the size of that thing. I think it's pretty old. This is a Crompton, by the way. This is a Brook Crompton. I got this as part of a job lot. I've got 4 more of these in the container. And the reason they were going cheap, and I didn't realise this at the time, was because they're double speed motors, so they're 2,800 RPM motors, which means you've got to be careful what you stick them on. I put one of these on one of those cheap Chinese pillar drills. Absolutely amazing at going through sheet metal, like ring, really spins them up. But if you're going to go through thick stuff, forget it. You just burns drill bits out, yeah. But this is Brook Crompton, so this is again a beautiful motor, and it's brand new. It's been in protective MOD wrapping for the last however many years. I think it's been in there quite a while, because it's actually when Brook Crompton was under the ownership of Hawker Siddeley, and Hawker Siddeley. Can you see that? Can you make that out? You just there, Hawker Siddeley. And I know they got bought out by BAE Systems, like I think it was early 90s. Pretty sure it was early 90s. Same time. I'm trying to think now. I'm basing all this on the RJ, the Avro RJ, which then became a Hawker Siddeley jet, which then became BAE jet, and that all happened very quickly. That little 4-engine high-wing regional jet airliner. Either way, these have been in a plastic bag since the early 90s, but it's still beautiful. There was desiccant packs and everything in there. So yeah, this is 3/4 horsepower. This monster is half horsepower. But I do have a little pulley. It's not quite the right thing for that belt though, so I might just throw this one on with a little pulley on that belt and hope it works out all right. Let me have a little play and see what fits. This one doesn't even fit under the bars at the minute. It's just so big. Okay, we got one of the biggest bodges I've ever done. Yeah, I probably shouldn't even upload this video, but I know a bunch of you are going to enjoy taking the piss. So right, well, it runs and it runs at a reasonable speed as well. So I've got a really small pulley on that motor. It's quite a chunky belt, and the belt's not enjoying life. Yeah. Look at that. That's getting everything spun up, and then we can just there we go. Hackety hacksawing. I haven't got any spare blades, so I'll get that suds pump set up and running again, and then we'll try and cut some steel or something. Yeah. Need a bit more tension on that motor. Okay, I got the belt a bit tighter, and I don't think cutting through pipe's really a good idea with this thing. They're not really meant for it. Same with the bandsaw, it used to bind up on pipe and that, but it would cut through a rounder, no problem. This is 40mm round, so we'll give this a go and see what happens. Probably wants bolting down to the floor. I don't know if you can see how much that's rocking around. It'll be alright. He's making good headway on that bar stock as well. That's good. That's nice. Nice. Pond pump's working well. It's only a really teeny tiny one, but I don't think I need any more coolant than that. There's no steam coming off, is there? So you know, I'm guessing that's keeping it cool enough. There's no heat in that at all. I wonder where that bolt just came from. Alright, so when it's cut through it, there's yeah, let's take the camera on the other side. Whoop. Yeah, so when it cuts through the bar, that pin there is gonna slam on that T-bar, and that disconnects the whole clutch assembly. So the motor stays running, but the saw stops sawing, I suppose. Yeah, we're over halfway through that bar now. It is actually starting to make a little bit of steam, so I think I do need a little bit of a higher rate of coolant. Actually, it looks like it's gonna switch it off before it's done the cut, to be honest. But that's alright. The T-bar's adjustable. I can just drop it down a bit if it does that. Where's my oil pot? I should have disengaged it, but it didn't. Hey ho. Oh fuck. Oh well. Okay, so what's happened? Oh right. No, it's not jammed up. It's the blade. Yeah, we haven't got a flat cut. It's a nice cut. It's a very nice cut actually. Look at that. Very nice cut. Oh, that's lovely that is, isn't it? Yeah, but it's not square. I did what did I do? I'll remember in a minute. Yeah, I set that up with a square. I set the vice up with a square, so that should have been square, but if you look, that's the bottom of the cut. Yeah, so it's let's get the square. Where's the square? Here we go. So oh, I mean that's not entirely square. Oh, it's impossible to measure round bar, isn't it? You see, that's the direction of travel of the hacksaw, but it's actually not square that way. Yeah, so that's a bit of a problem. Let's see if I can get some more tension on that saw blade, perhaps. Yes. Okay. Okay. So that was the second cut on this bit of 40 mil, I think this is. A lot better than the first cut. It's still nice and glossy, and you saw that the machine disengaged the clutch itself that time. It's just a couple of nuts on there. This is a lot straighter than it was, but it's still a few degrees out, which just means hassle when I want to put stuff in the lathe. You know, not that you'd, I suppose, count on it being square anyway, but yeah, it's a waste of material apart from anything else, isn't it? But, so what? Oh yeah, what I did, I found the like the, what do you call it's not the set of the saw blade, it's the wave. I don't know, I'm sure there's a name for it. Maybe it is the set, but the way this saw grips the blade, that was actually causing a bit of misalignment in the blade itself. So I mean, the blade was wandering, and it's still wandering a little bit, so I'm going to have to work on that, but it's definitely serviceable and definitely good enough for me now. I don't know what I'm going to do in the future, you know. I could save that variable frequency driver for another project and mount this motor permanently. I think that's most likely probably what I'm going to do. Like, to be honest, that pump's sufficient for now, and the motor is operational. it hasn't got the right size pulley on it, so it's not gripping that belt particularly well. So I've got a lot of tension on it and it's working, but it really needs a wider pulley, and I could make one on the lathe quite easily, I suppose, probably with that bit of 40mm I've just been buggering around with actually. But I want to use this thing. I've got things I need to do with this, so we'll press it into service and then see what breaks. And I'm sure in a future video or something that I'm probably gonna do a more permanent bit of work on this, get a nice button for it and mount the button up here on my control panel. Yeah, I spent so long building the control panel and mount for it, and that's just redundant now, isn't it? So I'll have to find something to do with that, put some buttons up there or something like that, eh? Anyway, alright, that's probably it for today. Yeah, I guess the next video you see from me will be the introduction of the big project that's coming up. Right, take it easy folks, bye bye.